You have looked at a word you have known your whole life and watched it stop looking like a word. The letters are still letters, but they have come apart into shapes. It looks misspelled, it looks foreign, it looks like something somebody made up. And nothing has changed because the word is exactly as ordinary as it was 1 second ago. Or it happens with your own front door, which for half a second belongs to a stranger. Or your own hand, held up in front of you, suddenly looking like somebody else's hand. It passes in a few seconds, and you almost certainly never mention it to anyone. But something in you noticed, and it did not feel neutral, felt wrong. Here is what makes it strange. This is not your memory failing. You know exactly what the word means, and you could define it out loud right now. The knowledge is completely intact, and what has gone missing is the feeling. The quiet little click that normally says, yes, this is mine, I have seen this before. That click is working for you every second of your life, and you have never once noticed it. You only ever notice it in the moment it does not arrive. This has a name, and it is the exact mirror image of a feeling that everybody already knows. Déjà vu is when something brand new somehow feels familiar. This is the reverse, when the deeply familiar suddenly feels brand new. It is called jamais vu, French for never seen. And here is the surprising part. Almost nobody has properly studied it. Déjà vu has been picked over by researchers for more than 100 years. Its opposite has been mostly ignored. The two researchers who know it best say plainly that we do not know much about jamais vu. The reason is simple, because you cannot schedule it. It arrives unannounced, lasts a few seconds, and leaves nothing behind to measure. Unless, of course, you can make it happen on purpose. In 1907, two psychologists noticed something odd about staring at a word for too long. Severance and Washburn reported that after long fixation, a word lost its associative power. It stopped meaning anything and became shapes. More than a century later, a team of researchers in Britain turned that into a real experiment. They had people write one single word over and over by hand and stop the moment it went strange. Some rounds used an ordinary word like door, and one round used the most common word in English. Roughly 2 in 3 people hit the wall, usually somewhere around 30 repetitions, about a minute in, which means you can do this to yourself right now while you are watching. Pick a word you have known forever and say it out loud over and over without stopping. Keep going well past the point where it starts to feel silly about 30 times. Give it a minute. For most people, though genuinely not everyone, the word goes flat, then foreign, then briefly stops being a word at all. That flat, hollow feeling is the entire phenomenon, running inside your own head on demand. So what is actually happening in there? Honestly, nobody is sure, and everything that follows is theory rather than fact. The oldest idea is simple fatigue. Repeat a word enough times, and the circuits carrying its meaning may tire out and briefly stop responding, which would explain why the meaning always comes back on its own after a minute or two. But researchers still argue about where that fatigue actually happens, and the question is genuinely open. One of those researchers, Chris Moulin, frames it as something more useful, a correction signal. Your brain is constantly deciding that things are familiar, fast, automatically, and almost always correctly. And when it leans on that judgment too hard for too long, something flags it. Check this again. Jamais vu may simply be you overhearing that flag go up. It does also show up in temporal lobe epilepsy and is reported in migraine aura and when people are badly exhausted or stressed. But in a healthy person, the occasional flicker is ordinary and harmless, and the researchers themselves say so. Which leaves one last question. Why does something so harmless feel so deeply unsettling? Déjà vu feels like a gift, a hint, a glitch, a little secret about time. Jamais vu gives you nothing at all. It only takes something away. But it may quietly be the more honest of the two, because recognition was never something the world handed to you. It is a judgment your brain issues constantly and silently. And jamais vu is the half second where you get to watch it hesitate.